Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Suzerain, a new text-based choose-your-own-adventure role-playing type game, where you're the leader of a fictional country in the 1950s and deal with a number of problems from a pandemic, potentially, to a failing son in school, to corruption and bribery, and in our last episode, a backroom conversation with one of the Supreme Court justices who we need to be on our side in order to be able to amend the Constitution to make our country a little bit more democratic. In this Let's Play, we've been playing more as sort of a centrist moderate, or I guess a reforming moderate. We want to reform the Constitution to be more democratic. We are pro-democracy, but our party's relatively conservative, and we're not really as far down the reform route as some of the radicals, so we're sort of towing a bit of a middle road, and we'll see how things play out in this episode. With that being said, this was taken from a live stream from my Twitch channel, so let's go ahead and get started. So I guess that's what we'll do. Just wait it out and it'll go away on its own, right? The vote of the Supreme Court draws near, and we need to sway Justice Heron Grazzi to maximize our chances of winning the vote for the new Constitution. After the initial rejection, we could bribe him, send Lucian or Nia to convince him to enter the negotiation table, or outright ignore the justice. Send Lucian, I think, right? I'm not just going to offer a bribe up front. That seems dicey. That could turn the moderates against us if they hear about it. Lucian that he had a half-hour-long meeting with Heron Grassi but failed to convince him to meet with the president. He also said that he did his best to persuade him to support the proposal but didn't get any proper answers. He expressed his deep apology for not bringing anything meaningful with this meeting with the justice. Fuck! Announcement of the Supreme Court's decision. Back at the office, I was eagerly waiting for the decision of the Supreme Court regarding our change to the Constitution. I stood up from my chair and looked out the window. Peter and Pascal were with me too. Peter was slouching in the couch right at the right side of the office and staring at the ceiling while Pascal sat across me. He was also eagerly awaiting the results. The whole process was tough on all of my team. We were constantly battling with an opposition against the constitutional change. After doing whatever we can about the justices, we had nothing more to do but wait for them to cast their vote. I hope so. I trust nobody. I'm sure she will support the proposal. My real worry is Heron. I think we need his vote. But anyway, we'll learn about that vote soon. I looked at the tall case clock in the room. It was already 20 past 11. The court's voting session was scheduled to end in 10 minutes. We have about 10 minutes. Curcio is apparently gaining popularity in our party. We have to watch him closely. That man is trouble. Suddenly, Livia entered the room. In her hands was a large object wrapped in straw paper. Good day, Mr. President and Mr. Benwell. Am I interrupting you? No, please come in. Is there a problem? What is it? A painting? It was old black and white photograph of Tarkin Sol posing on a destroyed tank at Holsword Square. The building behind him had thousands of bullets holes in it, with a clearly readable slogan, "Victory is close," written on its walls. He's threatening a coup, right? Like, that's what he's threatening. Woot woot! Congratulations, sir. The constitutional changes are finalized, with 6 justices voting for the proposal. Why, by the way, the music in this game does a really good job of keeping you on the edge of your feet, or edge of your seat. Congratulations, everybody. This is a historical moment, Anton. We have changed Seoul's constitution of 29. I am without words. We did it together, Peter. I really don't like Peter. But I feel like butting up to him is probably a safe thing. I don't know. He just seems to be like questionable morally, to say the least. News. New Constitution. After the Grand National Assembly's approval of the proposed changes to the Constitution, the Supreme Court also voted in favor of the new Constitution on Friday, making the changes official. The new Constitution replaces several of the major sections that were seen as unchangeable, which many swords saw as owning its origins to the military rule of Colonel Seoul from back in 1929. One of the key changes was taking the Supreme Court's vote on constitutional changes, allowing the Grand National Assembly of Sordland to make changes to the Constitution without the Supreme Court's approval. This is a triumph for all Sordish citizens who love democracies and wanted change, said Franz Richter. Although some observers expressed disappointment that the new changes do not reflect the will of the people, many USP supporters reacted with jubilation in public spaces across Sordland on Friday night. Cabinet meeting on the results of the vote. The cabinet has gathered in the White Room, sir. The vice president will be opening the session soon. We can go in whenever you're ready. Anything you want to say before we go in? I only want to congratulate you again, sir. You wrote history. I couldn't have done it without you. I think we should go, sir. Vice President Vectern may have started the session already. When we entered the room, Peter was speaking to the cabinet members who were already seated around the table. As soon as they noticed me, they all stood up. Good day, everybody. Please have a seat. Peter turned toward me. Everybody except him took their seats. He stood right next to my chair in the middle. And here is our president. What's on our agenda? I don't want to let Peter talk. I don't trust this guy. He just says crazy shit. Now that the Mr. President is here, we can begin the meeting. I know that some of you have had your concerns about our style of governance so far. There will be time to speak up about these in the meeting today. But I must also thank you all for your hard work so far. We are very lucky to have a team like this. All of you have been invaluable to this administration. Liaz grimaced at his remarks. Having said that, now we have reached a critical point of our term. We are nearing the end. We have successfully made changes to the Sordish Constitution. This is a historic accomplishment. Without this team, it couldn't have been possible. The new Constitution has brought us one step closer to the Sordish dream. We should be proud for having strengthened our democracy. Our success with these changes has brought with it great support. Our party, which was divided at the beginning of our term, is finally coming together once more. So let's start the meeting with a brief look at some reports. According to the latest polls, we have seen a decrease in our popularity. The public opinion has shrunk since we took office. A major concern of the people is the state of the economy. We're slowly slipping into a depression. This will have dire consequences in our administration. We mustn't lose hope and give it our best. Sordland needs us more than ever. I'll give the words to the president now. Mr. Vice President, thank you for the opening. First, I want to hear about brief reports from each ministry. First, I want to talk about our new focus on some of my plans. Yeah, each ministry. Tell me. Mr. President, dear colleagues, Mr. Vice President was pretty on point with his summary of the current economic status. He also used words like depression. He couldn't have been more correct. Our GDP has shrank 3% last year. This downward trend has broken our economy over the last years. If we cannot contain this in time, we'll end our term, in the truest sense of the word, in depression. On the other hand, unemployment has greatly declined. We have managed... Wait, what? Unemployment's down, but GDP is down? Or unemployment's down, but GDP is down also? Well, I don't want to get into too much detail right now, but I have to say that failure to open our first infrastructure project was costly. Fortunately, we expect to see it finish in the next months. Your concerns have been heard. I'll also keep it very brief, Mr. President. The trade deal with Valen increased our agricultural exports from the Bergia region. Our farmers are still suffering. Our ministry did its best giving out subsidies to local farmers, but our agricultural production remains the same. That would be all from me. Thank you, Mr. Manager. The Demon, 25, thank you very much for the follow. Yeah, I guess it could be underemployment, Lippard. Our state facilities require immediate attention. We're experiencing long lines in front of hospitals everywhere. We are also currently investigating some reports of small polio outbreak around the village called Hymir. I do believe we can get into more detail in our policy meeting. The Ministry of Defense has a very important report regarding our situation with Rumburg. The investigations showed that Rumburg was in fact weaponizing rebels against our state. We have learned that they have been aiding the Blutish rebels in Valen too. Our military must stand ready for any possible attack coming from Rumburg. We have gathered intelligence regarding their military research and production. They're building a massive army. We urgently need to increase our own military production. We cannot let them threaten us like this. They haven't reached out or threatened me at all. I'm not going to precede a conflict. Mr. President, Perla has agreed to begin deal negotiations. We'll soon be moving out of the very soon. Cooperation between Valen and Sordland has increased to a new level. However, we're seeing its negative impacts with Lesbia. The region is very unstable. With the incidents at Rumburg, Valen, and Hijland, we must be very cautious. We can talk about this. Oh, shit. Did my deal with Valen sabotage any chance of a deal with Lesbia? There's an important report from our intelligence officers. We've disrupted the radio signals of several active Blutish Freedom Front militants in Bergia. There seems to be some sort of preparation going on. We might need to implement some new measures soon. We'll provide you with more details at a later date. One last thing. I would like to transfer the gendarme under the Ministry of the Interior to improve internal security efforts. I haven't heard of this before. I'm still working on the proposal and have legal backing for it. I was going to mention it later. The Ministry of Defense shouldn't be meddling with internal security affairs through the gendarme. We have several incidents where they were too violent too quickly, and it stems from military officers giving reckless orders at the time. I don't want to use the military against the people. I'm not sure how this would help. I can assure a better internal security structure with cohesion and successful operations. Will you transfer the gendarme to the interior in the future? I can't make that promise. Yosef would be furious. Do you have anything to share, Miss Morgana? Not at this moment, Mr. President. You're already well aware of what's going on. I will update you on our next steps in the judiciary in another meeting. Thank you. Next, I want to talk about our new focus from some of my plans moving forward. It's time to focus on changing our party as a whole. I want a new vision for our manifesto. The public opinion is concerning. We must focus on campaigning for the next election already. The state of our economy is very concerning. It must be our focus to achieve quick economic development. Sordland needs to become an economic powerhouse. We can't get elected if we do not improve the economy. We should focus on eliminating poverty and homelessness. If there's no comments, let's move on to the meeting. I believe that's everything. The last 2.5 years escaped us so fast. My economy still sucks. Thousands of Bludish people have gathered in protest and called for the resignation of Governor Braun and President Rayne. Governor Braun reported that certain groups within the protesting crowd vandalized shops. Okay, so instability. Agent Halcyon revealed intelligence about a secret nuclear weapons program developed in Rumburg. Our intelligence has verified the details relayed about a heavy water facility in the north of the kingdom and a ballistic missile test site. The agent will be provided security under the protection program. Fuck! A nuclear program? Well, that ain't good. Lucian and I walked into my office in the Maroon Palace to make an address to the nation speech. It was unusually crowded today. Cameras, lights, and microphones were set in places, and the crew was standing by, ready to start filming. Are you ready, sir? Yes, let's do it. Good. I think the crew is ready. As soon as you take your seat, we can go live. I took my seat and rearranged my notes on my desk as a crew member powdered my face with a cotton puff. After everyone was ready, the director gave a sign to start filming. I looked directly into the camera. My fellow citizens, I'm happy to have this opportunity to talk to you about the changes. I'm grateful to earn the honor of finally modifying the Constitution of Tarkin's soul. I'd like to speak to you about our future, about a great historic effort to give the words freedom, fairness, and hope a new meaning and power. I'm happy to have this opportunity to talk to you about the changes we have undertaken in Sordland. I don't know. I guess we'll go with 3. Two years ago, I spoke to you of change, and we've accomplished that. I'm proud of what our government has accomplished. We have finally brought fairness and balance to our once decrepit system. We've reached a turning point in Sordland's history. We need to remember where Sordland was 2 years ago. Those days are behind us now, and the change we brought has been real. Our new constitution is a second revolution in the history of Sordland that truly transformed the course of the government with just one word: democracy. The new system brings more transparent democracy that will help Sordland rise up in the world. Transform a system that has caused endless confusion and resentment into one that is clear and simple and fair for all. We made a constitution that no longer protects the rights of a select few elites, but ensures the participation of all. For the sake of fairness, simplicity, and growth, we had to radically change the structure of our government system. We didn't radically. We transformed a system that had caused endless confusion and resentment into one that is clear, simple, and fair for all. By now, I'm sure you've had one question on your minds. Will our reforms help you? You bet they will. We see them as a democratization of Sordland because they close loopholes that will benefit a privileged few. I've spoken with and received letters from thousands of you. I know how hungry you were for change. Make no mistake, together we can change Sordland forever. From henceforth, our government shall no longer be able to obstruct the will of the people. We will now ensure that neither I nor any other person who holds the position of president will pose the risk of ruling by decree. I will personally make sure that every change is respected and executed properly. Beyond this, we intend to strengthen the democratic freedoms of every Swordish citizen. I must thank the Supreme Court justices for supporting these much-needed changes. We've also lowered our unfair election threshold. No longer will the voices of the minority be silenced. Voices were raised saying that we had to look to our past for greatness and glory. We proved and will continue to prove them wrong. I promise we will not stop. We've also lowered our unfair election thresholds. No longer will the voices of the minority be silenced. The new changes in our system have planted the seeds for untold future successes. Now that we have our next challenges, we'll be focusing on Sordland's internal and external threats. With our reforms complete, our government will now focus on the economic development of Sordland. Fellow citizens of Sordland, let me assure you our nation's poised for greatness. Today we must know what is right. Let history say of us, these were the golden years, when Swordish democracy was reborn, when Sordland reached for her best. I'll remind you of the revolutionary phrase, morning will come, victory is close. I am now glad to say that that morning has finally come. I will not let any of my fellow citizens down. The United Sordland Party will keep fighting for a stronger and more united Sordland. The future lies in the democratic movement of the West. The future is in our hands. For Sordland of wisdom that honors the family, knowing that as the family goes, so goes our civilization. For Sordland of a vision that sees tomorrow's dreams in the learning and hard work we do today. For Sordland of courage, whose servicemen and women, even as I speak, proudly stand watch on the frontiers of freedom. Of 2. Amorgana Vescor, Vectern Sista. I have no idea how that speech went. There's no crowd. Rayne, the future lies in our hands. In his address to the nation, a confident Anton Rayne announced that with his constitutional reforms passed, the future now lies in our hands. The reform process was long and arduous, taking up much of Rayne's first 2 years in office. Undoubtedly, the president is relieved to be able to move on and finish fulfilling his campaign promises. Gang violence claims more lives. There's a gang war. That's great. Well, we'll continue. Is there a chapter 4 now? Oh, Revelations. What does this mean? Go full axis of evil on those Rumburg sons of bitches. The only viable option now is that we go full Curtis LeMay on Rumburg. They're way more powerful than me militarily. I'm not sure I can do much. Vesord? A massive miscommunication between the Interior and Gendarme has resulted in a failed raid in Vesord. The Ministry of Defense and Interior both put the blame on each other. There will be a gathering soon to solve the ongoing dispute with security. I just don't trust the internal guy. I think he's going to launch a coup against me or something. When are we going to finish this damn highway? Also, the industrial zone is half done. Queen Beatrice demands reparations for century-old alleged war crimes. Queen of Rumburg, Beatrice Livingston, brought up the Estord incident on the 15-Day War, igniting the forgotten century-old debate of Swordish war crimes. What? She's angling for war with us then, I guess, right? Meanwhile, Hedgeland is devolving into chaos. My son is leaving the house. The gloomy weather couldn't dampen my spirits. My constitutional reforms had passed in court. I had won. That wasn't the only cause for excitement in the Rayne household. Today, Frank was finally leaving home. My son piled the last of his bags into the next door. Serge and the assistant driver were waiting outside next to the car. Did you pack everything? Don't forget to give me a call immediately after you arrive. Mom, I'm moving less than an hour away. You'll see me all the time. I know, but it won't be the same. Monica helped him put his backpack on while Serge started carrying the luggage to the car. I made you a sack lunch. I'll get it from the kitchen. She dashed down the hall. Frank and I turned to face each other in the doorway. So I guess this is it. You're gonna do great. Thanks, Dad. I haven't forgotten what you told me about your university years. I hope Holford State gives me a chance to prove myself the same way you did. Don't model your life on mine. You're your own man now, Frank. All right, Dad. Frank, I'm gonna miss you. I'll miss you too. Don't forget, you've got to give Mom and Dad extra hard time for both of us now. I cut the crusts off your sandwich just the way you like. I'm not a kid anymore. Sir, as per the schedule, Frank needs to be at Holsword State University to start his orientation in an hour. We will have to leave now to make it. Thank you, Serge. See you soon. Home will feel empty now. Living away from home, making your own choices for the first time, it changes a man. I think it'll be a liberating experience for him. It's never easy for boys to live in the shadow of their fathers, and it must be even harder when one's father is Anton Rayne, a great man like you casts a very long shadow. Not everyone thinks that. Excuse my language, Mr. President, but to hell with them. You are my president now and forever. Time to go. Frank waved his hands as he entered the car. The engines started and they were on their way. Monica stood next to me as they drove away. Her eyes were teary. There he goes. It already feels different. At least he has a father he can boast to his new friends about. Anton, the great reformer. Sounds good, doesn't it? We watched for a few minutes, even after the car was no longer in sight. I sighed and closed the door. Hey, the highway's done! Yay! It only took forever. Maybe that'll help the economy a little bit now. The long-awaited road network running from Lockhaven to Avery has been completed. The speed of transportation in the region is expected to be improved substantially, even though there have been some issues causing it to be delayed. Taurus Holding had delivered its promise. All right, so what about what's here? Presidential salary increased. The Grand National Assembly discussed passing a new law increasing the yearly salaries of elected officials, including that of the President of Sordland. Intelligence report, Vagsland might be preparing for a major invasion. Military intelligence has reported a massive buildup of landing vehicles and Navy ships at the port of Vilburn on Vagsland. Our agents are suspecting a massive naval military invasion of Hegi Island or Agnolia in the future. It is not fully confirmed, as the buildup could be a mock-up exercise to divert eyes elsewhere. Our covert agents will monitor the situation on the ground for as long as possible. So Vagsland may be preparing to invade Helgiport, which is obviously a key island in this transportation hub. If Vagsland ever has bad relations with us, that could prove problematic, as a huge portion of our economy comes out of Lockhaven through this sea lanes, and some of them move east to the Graf Strait, but a large percentage of our economic activity moves through the Valgos Channel. So Helgiport is in Agnolia's hand, which, while we don't have the best relations with them right now, they are sort of our closest historical ally on the island, or on the mainland. So if they lose this island, that could be bad for Agnolia's economic prospects, but it could also be bad for our security. The flip side is Vaxland's navy is much more powerful than our own and Agnolia's combined, and so that could be a concern as well. Also, it could also be some sort of diversion. If we get involved in a war over here, then maybe that gives Rumburg the channel they need to invade us easily. Maybe Rumburg and Vaxland even have some sort of partnership so that they'll invade Angolia while Helgiport gets attacked. We don't know. Read the report from Rumburg. Queen demands reparations for 15-day war. Queen Beatrice Livingston has called for reparations to be paid for the so-called past atrocities that occurred during the 15-day war. Rumburg demands the price of past wrongdoings must be paid if a path to peace is to open between two nations. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is analyzing the situation and coming up with a plan of action. So Rumburg on our northern border, you can see the main invasion route would probably be south from Krimsrod down toward Estord. I'm curious, this new roadway that we just constructed here is, like, up in this area. I'm wondering if these roads up here would actually help us in a defense against Rumburg. I don't know if the game models that or considers that, but that would be something, I guess, worth discussing. Hegeland condemns Hegeland governor and threatens intervention. Chancellor of Vaxland, Emmerich Hegel, has recently condemned the governor of Hegeland in a public statement and threatened to intervene on the island to protect the people. Angolia went too far. They are massacring our people in Hegeland. If the Alliance of Nations allows this to continue, Vaxland will intervene in the island to protect her people. This was the last straw, said Chancellor Hegel. Arkansian and United Kantonian governments are believed to be in close contact with both leaders to calm the situation. If the superpowers cannot find a solution, the Markian Sea may plunge into chaos. That'll be disastrous for our economy. Can I change my government type? Magi, I can't control the government type. I am who I am, but I can support very communistic policies. I can support very nationalistic policies, or I can kind of be a little bit in between, which is kind of where I've put myself. But we're not really changing our government type. We can choose to pursue constitutional amendments or not. We can appease to sort of the old military elements or not. But there's no, like, direct government change. All right, Lockhaven. The opening of the H3 highway. The day before the grand opening ceremony of the H3 highway, we arrived in Lockhaven to begin preparations. Although the delay had taken its toll on our morale, it was still a proud moment for all of us. Lucian and I, together with the project leads Simon and Lales, met to discuss how to proceed. First of all, this day may have arrived later than expected, but it does not change the fact that we are here now. This is still a big success. Congratulations, everyone. To many more projects like this, well done. We couldn't have done this without our excellent team. Indeed. Let's move on to our plans for the opening tomorrow. It has been a long time since the last successful infrastructure project. From a public relations viewpoint, we can certainly capitalize on the occasion. I have a plan for how to do that. The President himself shall make the maiden voyage from Lockhaven to Avery, along with his motorcade, if he agrees, of course. I don't support anything beyond the opening ceremony. The highway speaks for itself. Image is everything, Simon. I agree. This would bolster the President's reputation. I agree. I'll hit the road. I guess we can't avoid that. Simon, you deserve the credit. After all, it was you who came up with the project. See you at the ceremony. Despite Lockhaven's strong PFJP's presence, a huge crowd of supporters had turned out. Lucien must have brought in some ringers. Signal for Lucien to begin the ceremony. I gave Lucien the green light. An opening address began. Brothers and sisters of Sordland, I welcome you Lockhaveners today as a proud servant of this country. Lucien's voice echoed in the square next to the highway. Hundreds of Sordland and USP flags began to wave as the cheers intensified. Without further ado, I invite the President of Sordland to the stage. Lockhaveners, welcome to the opening ceremony of the H3 Highway. Citizens, people of Sordland, welcome to the opening ceremony of the H3 Highway. At the beginning of this journey, we promised jobs and opportunity. We kept our promise. Trust me, our work is far from over. This project is only the beginning. The aim of the H3 Highway was to create economic growth in East Nargis and Agneland. Our intention with the H3 Highway was to ensure citizens an easier commute between Lockhaven and Avery. Well, we are trying to focus more on the economy because it's so bad. Thanks to this highway, travel between Lockhaven and Avery is twice as fast and infinitely more comfortable. The highway has brought and will continue to bring thousands of new jobs. None of this would be possible without the sound advice of my Interior Minister, Lyles Graf. Ensuring success of this project wasn't just one of my presidential goals, I made it my personal priority. I must thank the brilliant mind behind the highway project, the esteemed Minister of Economy and Tax, Simon Hole. Please come here. Thanks, Mr. President. Our aim with this project was obvious, to improve the speed and efficiency of transportation. After we cut that ribbon and you drive on the highway, you can judge your success for yourself. I don't trust Lyles. He always, like him and his internal police and him wanting to take over the gendarmes, I just don't trust him. Why can't I have them all in the car with me? I guess I'll go with Lucien. I already sucked up to Simon. I don't like Lyles. Or she? God, I didn't realize Lyles was a woman. Ah! I don't even look at these portraits on the side for the most part. I just sort of read their names. Good call, Ansley. My bad. It is a she, you're right. Can the econ? Hey, the economy went up slightly. It's still bad, though. News. President Rayne opens the long-awaited H3 highway. With a grand ceremony, President Rayne has declared the H3 highway open with his aides by his side and executives from Taurus Holding. After the ribbon cutting, he has delivered a heartfelt speech and brought attention to the capabilities of the administration. Following the opening speech, President Rayne has driven his car on the new highway for the first time. Even though the H3 highway is overdue, the fact that it is expected to boost the output of Angland's region cannot be denied. Thus, it has been happily welcomed by the citizens. Taurus Holding finally finishes the H3 highway. Taurus Holding has finally finished the construction of the H3 highway, leaving much to be desired in terms of accuracy, quality, and punctuality. We are unsure why the president decided to pick a company other than Underhull Construction for the task of this scale. Following the opening speech, President Rayne has driven his car on the new highway for the first time. The H3 highway is expected to boost the output of Angland region and has been happily welcomed by the citizens, though late as it may be. However, whether the president can witness the fruits of his labor during his term is yet to be seen. Economists predict that most of the benefits can only be seen in the upcoming years. I mean, that's one of the things, like, economically speaking, especially in, like, one-term presidents, at least in the United States, and most countries, I think there's generally long enough of a delay between economic policy and the actual effect of the policy, that often the true measure of the economy won't be felt until the following administration. At least a lot of the effect, maybe not all. We now have average transportation links, so I think that's a slight improvement. The Minister of Defense is in the legal dispute with the Interior about the gendarmes. Trash Cam 12, thank you very much for the follow. Let's see what we've got up next. Discussion of the changes to the law. What law? Luciana and I sat in my office waiting for Peter. I was at my desk and he was on the sofa, legs crossed. Mr. Hole and I have been working on several possible plans to boost the economy as our focus. He is currently compiling a very detailed report with suggested projects. I'll make sure you have a chance to see it soon. Looks like Mr. Vice President is late yet another time. I'm slightly concerned about Peter. He seems to have his mind occupied. He's been late to almost every meeting we've had recently. I've noticed it too. I need to talk to him in private sometime. I know Peter well. This is nothing to be concerned about. I don't know what's wrong, but I do not appreciate him being late all the time. I'll talk to him in private. It's 12:20 my time, Star Wars. I'm in the Central Standard Time Zone. Have a seat. He placed the files on my table and took out several documents and organized them in front of me. Here's everything, just as you asked, our plans for our next reforms. Here are some just suggested reforms. You can pass these with your decrees as you like. What are your thoughts, Anton? Let's go over the documents. You can select up to 3 laws to enact. Fair trade. So I can't select... So if I hadn't weakened the Constitution, I might be able to do things like purge the general staff, relocate teachers and doctors to rural areas, capital punishment. You know, I don't have stronger decree powers. So essentially, I can do 3 things, and I only have 4 things to choose from. Free prescription medicine, lower retirement age, Swordlish Radio and Television Supreme Council, and Fair Trade and Competition Commission. Trade and commerce in Sordland has few regulatory measures, resulting in unfair competition at times. A new Fair Trade Commission can be established via decree to push for fair market competition by protecting local industries through new regulations. Is that free market or not? Swordlish Radio and Television Supreme Council. Freedom of speech is protected in Sordland, but with the rise of new media, private organizations gained a massive influence on society. With a new decree, we could create a government agency, the SRSC, that could protect the independence of the media or control it. The retirement age of Sordland had been increased to 65 in the mid-1940s due to economic stagnation. The older voting blocs are requesting a decrease. Our administration can pass a decree that would lower the retirement age to 40. That's -2 government budget, 1... No cost, no cost. We're going to go with these 2 options. It's going to drop me into -3 for the income, but it may help ease poverty a little bit. Prescription medicine for free and lower retirement age. I don't like the other options, so we'll just do that. What's the news say about my... Medicine is fully free. All medicine is fully free from now on. The highly but not fully subsidized prescription medicine has been made fully free by the state on this day through a decree signed by President Anton Rayne. The joyous news was received positively by the very sick who rely on expensive medication imported from the United Cortana or Arcasia for illnesses like cancer. This move relieves the slight burden that was felt more on the backs of the working class. The administration has done a great service to the people through this action, and we hope that many more acts of the state support will come for welfare. I can't read. All right, and with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. I do hope you guys are continuing to enjoy the series. We did manage to get the Supreme Court to sign on to our amendments to the Constitution, as well as dealing with some of our own internal political issues and making medicine free for everybody. So I think a relatively successful turn. We're getting close to the end here. I think we've got like 3 or 4 more episodes left until this series wraps up with the conclusion of the game. This was taken from a live stream from my Twitch channel where we finished up the other night. I really enjoyed my time with this game. We're definitely going to continue this series through to its conclusion on the channel, but I'm really curious to hear your guys' thoughts. Now that we're really pretty deep into the game, what are your thoughts about the game and about the story? And, why don't you share them down below? But until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you very much for watching. And until next time, I'm out.